Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we are going to move right along. We have our famous guests coming up here, and that's Darwin Porter. We're so happy to talk to him in Staten Island, New York. Good morning. How are you,
Good morning
Darwin?
To you, Anita. Good morning to you. Wonderful to talk to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you, too. So, you certainly did come up with a great article in our April issue about the century-old Hollywood legends go to court. Everyone's going to court, it looks like.
That is the American way. But in the short time we have, I want to talk about my recent experience coming into very interesting contact with three generations, baby boomers, millennials, and Generation Z. And, of course, the Generation Z has made its voice heard around the world after the Parkland massacres. But all this came about because your friend and my publisher, Danforth Prince, is sort of in the film business now, and he had a film where he hosted millennials who showed up, and then a much younger crowd, Generation Z, and in a few days, baby boomers arrived to make a film about a 75-year-old widow who loses after the loss of her husband. She starts life anew when she falls in love with her next-door neighbor. So that should be fun.
Yes, I love that. I hear these stories all the time.
Yes, and but first I want to give a quick, because baby boomers are now being evaluated by different generations. I just don't want to do a quick rundown. Of course, you're the world's expert on baby boomers, so I'm preaching to the choir with you. But beginning in 1946, 76 million baby boomers were born, and they grew up to control 80% of the world's wealth. Now, oddly enough, they weren't all. Some people didn't call them baby boomers. Their moniker was golden boomers, Generation Jones, alpha boomers, hippies, yippies, yuppies, zoomers, and cuspers. But I like baby boomers better.
That's great.
And now we saw the two most, according to the latest survey, the two most famous baby boomers in the world are Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, who battled for the presidency with Hillary getting the most votes. But that's not the way the election is won. We still have the Electoral College. So now, baby boomers are not just a group voting in profile with each other. They have very different points of view. In fact, they're almost in two very different camps, and I've been looking into that. And in retrospect, it appears that the baby boomers may have had the best of all possible generations. They were the wealthiest, the most active, and the most physically fit generation ever born on this planet. And they experienced the greatest levels of food. They had the greatest choice of clothing, and many of them worked for companies that had retirement programs, and even midlife crisis products came on the market, which our mothers and fathers did not necessarily have. But there have been many changes going on. Now, for example, the greatest number of children to baby boomers were born between 1972 and 1992. And these people are beginning to come up with, they're parting with their fathers and mothers in some significant ways. They are more liberal, apparently. 79% of the new generation consider themselves liberal, which could have enormous impact on future elections. And that became very true after the Parkland massacres. Some talking head on TV said that he thought all Generation Z people could only talk into their iPhones, but wow, they came forth with powerful voices. They even got the support of Pope Francis during Holy Week, he said, "You people will own the 21st century." And now, for the first time in history, the baby boomer population will become a minority, but 49%, although it used to dominate. So that is bound to have enormous consequences on future elections and everything else. The Generation Z people that I've been talking to, they're sometimes very critical of their parents, or in their case, their grandparents, over the condition that some of us are leaving the planet in. And Generation Z is going to be 25% of the population. I was astounded at that figure. And their site, we're leaving them with overpopulation, climate change, pollution, unemployment, rise in world starvation, rise in violence. Woo! A lot of big problems. And then, of course, I've become interested in this new thing that's being reported. It's called the Big Rock, which is headed toward Earth. But it won't reach us till September of 2035. It's as big as the Empire State Building is tall. And if it hits the Earth, it will be 80,000 times the power of the atomic bomb that dropped on Hiroshima in August of 1945. So the problem is, will we have the spacecraft to encounter the Big Rock? You know what happened to the dinosaurs, right?
What is the Big Rock, actually? What is that?
It's a huge rock on a path toward Earth. You've seen it many times in the movies, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's very interesting. I was just worried about what was happening in the next month or so. This little thing was going to fall, but wasn't going to be very big.
Oh, no. I don't plan. I will be living on Jupiter when when it comes. But now many things are happening. For example, the Generation Z and also the millennials, they're not into organized religion as much as their parents. For example, there's been a 42% drop-off among the young people, which would be the sons and daughters or even the grandparents of a new generation. They're not as interested. For example, there's a cathedral next door to me, the Cathedral of Staten Island. And when I came here, the first year of the Nixon administration, on Sunday, the services were packed. And the other day I walked by on a Sunday and looked in, and there were 18 people there. And many churches on Staten Island have long closed now. They're being converted into halls or even private homes. So I don't mean to say that the new people are not religious. It's just that they're not the type to attend church regularly. Let's put it that way.
I was always wanting to buy a church to live in as a home. Isn't that funny?
Well, I've seen some that's been beautifully converted. I'll tell you have a lot of room if you do.
Right, high ceilings.
Extremely high feelings. And now, the latest statistics were done in April of 2016, and it showed that the millennials will top 77 million, with the baby boomer generation going down to 76 million. Now, that's only 1 million difference, but that, of course, as time goes by, will change a great deal. And they will apparently be far more tolerant than the generation we grew up in, where there were many, many battles to be fought along the way. And, for example, even in designation of sexuality, the latest sociologists who have studied this said they're now suggesting, instead of straight, gay, and bi, they're suggesting 2 other categories. I found mostly straight, which means you're not always straight and mostly homosexual, but you every now and then may grab an attractive girl walking down the street.
Oh, my goodness. That's funny. That's very good.
It is, but I thought it was there is wide disparity among baby boomers of the kind of generation that they're leaving the world in. And I got two totally different points of view, and I've sort of summarized them. One was from a professor in New York, and he said, he was born at the end of the war, and he says, I've witnessed members of my baby boomer generation energize the civil rights struggle, bring an end to the Vietnam War, create the feminist revolution, make important strides toward nuclear disarmament and environmental protection, and help elect this country's first black president. Now, another baby boomer, born the same time, he said, we did little to prevent the environmental destruction of our planet. We watched as our country plunged headlong into unwinnable wars costing $7 trillion, and we let this country drift into this worst economic crisis since the Great Depression with no one held accountable. And, oh, yeah, we elected Donald Trump. So you see, he said the millennials and Generation Z could hardly do worse. So that shows almost a wide diversity of opinion among baby boomers. And I just find this fascinating, that how these generations are changing, and particularly with the close encounters that I'm having and all the people I'm getting to talk to later. Another point should be added about baby boomers. They went through, even though they were prosperous for the most part, they went through what? The Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the assassinations of JFK, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and the Vietnam War. But they saw a walk on the moon. They survived Watergate and Nixon, and they lowered the drinking age to 18, and there was an oil embargo and the Iran hostage crisis and Ronald Reagan. So they had a hell of a time.
Well, you've done a lot of research, a lot of your homework to be able to put this show together.
Well, yes, I've been interested in this because of this wide diversity of people I'm making, and they're all filmmakers. But I'll tell you, they have opinions, and their opinions are very, very strong. And I've been having a hard time trying to keep up with them, but I'm sort of having a lot of fun doing it, you know. And beginning with this Parkland, I think the slogan was, first we march, then we vote.
Oh, right. No, I have to say we're all sitting here in such joy to see the young people taking up causes, because people used to say, oh, the young people, they just put their head into the TV or into the all the high-tech stuff. And see, it's not really true.
Anita, you know, a quirky thing is happening again, but I've prepared for this emergency. Only when you and I talk to each other does your voice start to fade. And so you'll be shifted to another phone. Danforth Prince, your friend, is in the office, and he will be calling on another phone. So we'll switch phones here in a minute.
No, just keep going. Just keep going. It's okay.
Okay, and now the thing that okay, the thing.
Keep going.
Okay,
keep
we're
going.
Switch phones here. Okay. Okay.
Okay, are you on now?
Anita,
Yeah.
Are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
I don't know. We have this strange thing. I
Yeah,
think someone's
okay. Just keep
someone's
talking. I don't want to lose you, though. Keep going.
Someone's trying to censor us. I think. I don't know who it would be. And anyway, we'll go on. But now you are right in the middle of this because, as I said, I admired all the work and everything you've done with baby boomers, but there will be new politicians to rise. The young man who rose out of Florida that impressed more people in the world was David Hogg. Now,
yes, that's the young man from the high school. Yes, from Parkland.
Yes, I might have wanted to change my last name, but anyway, it showed. Now, here's the 17-year-old boy, and there's even talk that David may become the next president of the United States one day. And I don't know if you heard about it, but he took on Laura Ingraham.
Yes, I know he did. Oh, yeah. I know he did.
I'll tell you, you better watch what you say about this Generation Z, because they are the internet age, and he already picked up 600,000 people who are following his action, and he took her on. Now, Laura has always been a voice of the very alt-right. She once had a battle attacking homosexuals, and it interfered with her advertising. Well, David and his Generation Zers, have contacted most of her advertisers. She's fled for a vacation right now.
I know she is. Yeah, she's off for a week.
I think that would be a very, very troubled vacation. And also, there's this rock guitarist named Ted Nugent, and he's an NRA disciple, and he took the Generation Z people on in Florida and called them people without a soul. Now that, of course, on the surface, that's a ridiculous thing to say. And I wouldn't want to attend one of his next concerts. These people are organizing, and usually their pattern has been to stay home during elections, for the midterm especially. But that may change this year, and Florida seems to be in the forefront of states where they may see this change. I don't know if you heard the confrontation between the Generation Z people from Parkland and Senator Marco Rubio.
Oh, yes, I did hear that.
Well, Mr. Rubio is a very articulate man. I mean, he even battled Donald Trump. Remember who had the bigger hand?
Yeah, I remember.
Which I thought that had never happened before in the history of the American presidency. And but he did not have strong answers. And then this little girl got up and said that Senator Rubio had taken $1.05 from every single student in Florida, and he did. He was widely supported by the National Rifle Association. So I think this year is going to be a very, very dramatic year in the elections, and it won't be stay at home. I think people in Florida will be out voting, and I think 3.2 million, maybe more, will enter the elections in Florida. That might have an enormous impact on the state.
Yes, but I have to ask you a question. No one's talked about this. Don't you think the parents of these kids will also then go with their kids? And that's another voting side. Yeah,
yes, and more and more interviews have shown that even say, if your daddy is a gun nut, as they call it, I hate that word, but there's one daughter they showed confronting her father, and she said, "Daddy, I want to live. I want to grow up and have a good life like you and Mama had, and I want to make something of myself, and I want to go to college, and I don't want to walk out the door every day going to school in Parkland and feeling that I'm going to be massacred and never will return home." Wow.
Yeah, that'll shake them up.
What are you going to say to a daughter who just asked you, "I want to live"?
Yes, you're right.
so you're right. It's a very powerful confrontation, and it shows that this very articulate generation, they've also learned to manipulate the social media, and so a powerful group is emerging, and that is not to distract from all the great achievements that the baby boomers did. I mean, all of us did some remarkable things because we grew up in a very different generation. And before we ring off, I want to say I'm also very, very grateful for what Tom Brokaw called the greatest generation.
Well, now, I have to tell you something before we leave, because I was at a vitamin store. I was looking at vitamins, and there was a man sitting there, and I said, gee, where is the vitamin D on the shelves? And he said, it's over there. He says, hey, I know your voice. Yeah? He said, yes, I listen to you. You do? Okay. He said, you know, the best person that you have on your radio show is that celebrity writer, Darwin Porter. I wish you had him on every week. I want you to know that. I couldn't not end the show without telling you that.
Well, bless him. And so we'll ring off with me. I don't want to ignore what Tom Brokaw thing called the greatest generation.
I understand that. Well, do we have another? We have another minute, I think. We still have another minute.
It would be basically our parents. And
right.
I lost my father in the war, and my mother went to work in a war plant.
So did my mother. My mother did too. My father was an air raid warden. But you know, Bill flew 35 missions in the war. So we had a great generation. We did. Yeah.
And then they were not the most tolerant people. And then they came back to America, and that's where they had to fight the wars for equality.
Yep, I know. And they did it. And we're going to see. You're right. This was a great subject today, because I didn't even know they're called Generation Z. Thank you. That gave me a whole new thing. But Darwin, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your next article for our May issue, and maybe we can talk privately. So thank you very much, Darwin.
I would love to, and a good day to you.
And my love to Danforth.
Yes, he was standing by to...
Right. Okay. All right. Bye. Nice to talk to you. Bye.